a comfortable position, whatever that looks like, whatever that feels like, you can kind of shift and wiggle around. And once you find your sweet spot, let yourself just soften. Feel the weight of the world drip away from your shoulders. And feel gravity pulling your awareness from your mind down through your spine, all the way to the root. And at the base of your spine, imagine these beautiful, thick roots extending down and out, anchoring you into this moment. You don't have to change anything at all with your breath. Just observe the breath that you arrived with. Notice the texture, the rhythm, the depth. Pull the shoulder heads back, soften the shoulder blades, open heart. Let your awareness move to the very top of your head. And imagine a waterfall pouring down the top of your head, the back of your neck, the shoulders, all the way down the spine. This beautiful water washing, cleansing, purifying. Bow chin and towards your chest. Blink open your eyes. Welcome, my friends. A soulful guide to grounding, stillness, and sensual presence. In your email, you should have received an attachment to a PDF, a recipe book that is full of different recipes that I would really recommend you play with in the kitchen. These are recipes that are super delicious, easy to make, incredibly nourishing, and super grounding. You can keep it downloaded on your computer, on your phone. You can print it off, but I promise you, these are recipes that you are going to love, and you can carry these recipes with you throughout the fall, into the early winter, and even into the late winter. A Vata season is usually in the fall, early winter. Kapha season is late winter, spring, and Pitta season is summer. So we just got out of Pitta season and we're in fall for sure. Although it's a little warmer than normal, it's still very fall outside, at least here in the Midwest where I am. And this kind of change of season, there's always going to be a shift internally as well. And so, the sacred shift of the seasons, every single year, autumn speaks in a quiet language. Fall is a tender reminder that all things rise, bloom, fade, and then return back to the earth. The trees do not resist this truth. They release what has served its cycle, trusting the wisdom of letting go. This is the ancient rhythm of renewal. Trusting the wisdom of letting go. That's probably the hardest thing in the whole entire world for me is releasing. And these practices are so amazing because we practice doing just that. We practice releasing. And in the practice, we then begin to actually release, whether we consciously recognize it or not. When we do these practices, things start to shift. And according to Ayurveda, the autumn is the season of the Vata dosha. As I mentioned, it's governed by air and space. And the qualities or the gunas of this dosha are cool, light, dry, mobile. So, really, kind of the qualities of the air right now here in the Northern Hemisphere, at least. The very essence of movement and transition is Vata dosha. And when Vata rises, we may feel unanchored, restless, uneasy, or scattered. But when it's imbalanced, it offers heightened clarity, creativity, and spiritual connection. It's the dosha of visionaries and of dreamers and of artists and seekers. So the practice, Tantra really mirrors this same wisdom throughout the body. As the outer world turns inward, so too are we called to descend from mind into matter, from being into doing. The Muladhara chakra, the root chakra, is your energetic root, and it's located at the base of your spine. And this chakra governs our sense of safety and belonging. So, grounding into autumn is really an act of remembrance, the remembering that we too are part of the earth's pulse. To align with this season is to really enter the temple of the body and listen, to find stillness, stability, and sensual rhythm beneath the swirling winds of change. Ayurvedic rhythms of autumn. In Ayurveda, Ayurveda is the study of life. It's the sister science to yoga. And health is not really a fixed state, but rather a continuous dance with nature. When the air becomes crisp and dry, balance is restored through its opposites, through warmth, through moisture, through steadiness, through oil. And this is the art of living seasonally, of tending to the body like a sacred soil. In Sanskrit, it's called dinacharya, and what that translates to is daily rituals. In Ayurveda, ritualistic nature is highly encouraged. Having a morning routine and evening routine are really beautiful ways to start your day and to end the day. An Abhyanga self massage is one of my absolute favorite practices to do. And with my clients, that's my number one recommendation is to do an Abhyanga self massage at least once a week, if you can more frequently than that. You can do an Abhyanga in like if you're teaching yoga or if you're, with your family, you could teach a guided self massage, which we'll do in practice today, of just massaging your whole body with your clothes on. And that is amazing and incredibly beneficial. But a true traditional Abhyanga massage is done with a warm oil You can get oils that are specific to doshas. So you could get a Vata balancing oil that you could use during the fall. You could get a Kapha balancing oil to use in the spring, Pitta in the summer. You could get a tridoshic oil as well. That's tridoshic means that it's good for all doshas. It helps balance all of the doshas. And so you can get these oils that are specific. I love the company Pavani. Um, Banyan Botanicals is really good, and there's several other that you can do. You can also infuse your own oils if you wanted to, but using some sort of warm oil, sesame oil works perfect in the fall. It's a very warming, a very kind of spicy oil, and so that helps the dry coolness of Vatas using this warm sesame oil. Almond oil is a thick oil that feels really good and it's also super warming, but people can be allergic. So you have to be mindful of the use of almond for yourself and for anyone else. Olive oil, a really good olive oil, is actually very similar to our body's natural sebum, the natural oils that we make on our skin. So, a really good olive oil is actually a great oil that you can use on your body and on your hair. So, if you have that, coconut oil is a really cooling oil and it's a drying oil. So that is an oil that I recommend in the summertime. So if we're talking about grounding into autumn, a sesame oil, an almond oil, or an olive oil would be really great to use. Or you can get a Vata balancing oil or a tridoshic oil as well. But basically, you just heat the oil up. What I like to do is just like get really hot water in a mug and then take like I would love to say it's like an actual coffee creamer because that's how I used to warm up syrup when I worked in a breakfast place. I'd take like a hot mug of water and put the syrup in like one of those coffee creamer tins and then like warm the syrup up that way. And I don't have one of those coffee creamers, so usually it's a shot glass that I use, but I use it and you can warm up the oil. There's also like really beautiful little oil warmer containers that you can get. There's something out there for everything, but warm up the oil. And if it's not warm, that's also not the end of the world. You can just use room temperature oil as well. But the key is to do it before you take a shower. So what I always recommend is placing a towel that you don't mind that gets oil stained. Place that down in your bathroom and give yourself an Abhyanga self massage. So you're just using the oil and you're literally just rubbing, squeezing, massaging your entire body. And if you want to take it a step further and this is hard, you can do it in front of the mirror and you can speak really beautiful affirmations to yourself. And if you are blanking on affirmations, which I tend to do in the moment, I have a really beautiful goddess meditation that is full of really beautiful embodied mantras and affirmations that you can use. And I will send you that recording so you have access to it. It's just on my public podcast. I think it's just called the Awakening the Goddess Nidra meditation, but it has a ton of affirmations on there and it connects you to your feminine, your goddess. And that's who rules the lower three chakras is the feminine. And that we're trying to awaken and make her comfortable and nourished. And so you could do Abhyanga in the mirror while speaking really beautiful things. And it could literally just be like, thank you, legs, so much. Thank you for carrying me this far. Thank you, arms, for holding all of the things that I need to juggle. Like it can be very simple like that. But Abhyanga is really a simple act that nourishes the skin. It quiets the nervous system and it cultivates ojas. Ojas is like your vital essence. And it really is the substance of resilience. And so Abhyanga helps to cultivate more ojas in the body, meaning it helps you live longer. Nasya is the nourishing of the breath of life. And what this is, and honestly, I wish that I had this when I was in high school, college. It would have really eliminated a lot of pain and suffering that I went through. But in the fall and winter, I always get like super dry boogers that basically stick to the side of my nose. And if anyone has ever experienced it's so painful and it's so dry and it hurts so bad to even just like touch the outside of your nose. You have to like dig in there to like soften them up. And so this practice is something that will really help with that. And what it is dropping about 1 or 2 drops of oil into each nostril. And then you'll delicately massage the oil into your nose. And what this does is it helps protect against dryness, and it also helps to open up the gateway so prana can be nourished and you can feel clarity and vitality flowing through freely through your body. Oh, if you don't struggle with having, dried snot on the side of your nose, which I'm sure many of us have, but if that's something you don't struggle with, then oftentimes it can be the complete opposite of that as well, where we're just like so snotty and so wet during this season that the neti pot is also another really beautiful grounding, cleansing tool that you can use. And it's literally just this pot of water that you fill up with saline solution. There's like neti salt that you can get, and then you just pour it and it goes through each nostril and that just cleans out the sinuses. And what the saline solution does is it dries out your sinuses. So then you can use both of these practices, Nasya and the neti, in tandem, where you clean out your nose every single day. It's safe to do every day. You clean out your nose and then put a drop or two of oil in the nose, massaging the nose. That'll help keep things moving and clear. And when you can breathe, you're able to ground down easier and more comfortable. A Sandhya ritual. This is a ritual of evening grounding. As the dusk approaches, really start to soften the lights, light a candle, and you can prep a warm cup of spiced milk or tea. Golden milk is one of my favorites to have at night before you go to bed. You can just curl up comfy on the couch with this delicious cup of golden milk, and there's like as many recipes of golden milk as there are people on the earth. And so I have some that I'm more than happy to share, but there's so many out there. There's pre-made ones, there's recipes that you make at home. And so I really encourage you to kind of play around. And, everyone's kind of into matcha right now. And how fun would it be to kind of flip the script and turn everyone towards golden milk? But this is really like a grounding ritual for you to reflect on your day. You can write down what you wish to release as the darkness descends. And this is a really simple ritual that attunes the inner tides to the natural fading of the sun. And if possible, screens off by 9. So our workshop in real time is done at 9. And so screens off, according to Ayurveda, an hour to 30 minutes before you go to bed. And if possible, in bed before 10 or around 10. And why is that? We not only have the doshas swirling around in every single one of us. It's also around us in every single thing. But the doshas also rule the seasons of the year and also the times of day. And so the Vata hours are 2 to 6 a.m. and p.m. Kapha hours are 6 to 10 a.m. and p.m. And Pitta hours are 10 to 2 AM and PM. So if you stay up past 10, what you're doing is going into your pitta hours, giving you more energy. So if you ever notice that, you're so tired all day long and then 10 o'clock hits and you kind of get this second wind, and then you're up until like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, because that's when pitta hours end is at 2. And then you start to go into the Vata hour of like very spiritual and ethereal and spacious. And so not only do the doshas rule our bodies and the world around us, but it rules the seasons and also the time of day. And so eating really seasonal fruits, my teacher calls them soul foods, seasonal, organic, unprocessed, and local. And autumn really calls for nourishment. That's warm, that's soft, that's cooked. So, food that comforts the body and really anchors the wandering mind. You can favor roasted root vegetables, soups, porridges, stews. I love khichdi. I just made a Thai curry tonight for dinner. Stews that are really rich in oil, so ghee or olive oil, coconut oil, sesame oil. We actually drizzled our soup with some sesame oil, and it just adds a nice warmth to it. You can think about eating all of the foods that literally grow in the earth. So we want to ground right now because we are so up in space and Vata that we want to ground, ground, ground. So literally eating foods that grow in the ground, sweet potatoes, carrots, root vegetables are so perfect because the earth always provides us with everything that we need. So everything that is in season right now is exactly what we should be eating. And another kind of way that you can determine whether this is like a good food for you right now is by the color of the food. If you walk into the grocery store, and actually I did it just today, the $8.97, big quart of strawberries, they were like half white. They're like juicy red on the bottom, and then it's like a pink, and then they're white at the top. And they just like, it was like, put me down was like the vibe I got. Because it's like, oh, these aren't good right now. But if you go in the summertime and those strawberries are juicy and they're red and they're literally screaming at you to buy, that's because they're in season and they're rich with prana. So you go into the grocery store right now, the sweet potatoes are like knock your socks off orange. The squashes, the pumpkins, everything's so vibrant. The citrus is in season right now, and the lemons are just like so yellow, and the oranges are so orange. And so the foods that are in season right now are going to be the foods that are the brightest. So you can just walk into the produce section and just like see the brightest food and go over and buy as much of it as you can. Really try to incorporate spices into your food, not necessarily hot, but it could be, but more flavor spices like cumin, cinnamon, cardamom, ginger. These all stoke your Agni, your digestive fire. We're eating heavier foods, and so having the digestive fire robust will help you to digest that without creating any ama or toxins in the body. Really try to avoid cold, dry, or raw foods. These all increase vata and diminish your inner warmth. So think cooked, sautéed, mushy, oily, soupy, wet foods right now because it's so dry, it's so cracky, it's so crisp, it's so hard right now in the autumn that we're bringing in all of the opposite qualities to help ground. The practice of Tantra teaches that the divine is not found by leaving the body, but by fully inhabiting it. To descend into the body is to descend into truth. So, autumn is not a fading, it's actually a return to presence, to the heart, and to the steady pulse beneath all change. In the tantric map of energy, autumn aligns with what's called apana vayu, and that is the downward moving current that governs elimination, grounding, and surrender. So to work with apana vayu is really to honor the wisdom of release, the same wisdom the trees embody when they let their leaves fall. Grounding through sensuality, feel the heaviness of your limbs, not necessarily as fatigue, but as sacred gravity, as a reminder that the body's weight is a form of prayer. Move from the intellect into the senses, from the linear into the circular, and allow stillness to speak. True strength arises in silence. Let yourself sit in the silence and slow down. Yin, restorative, and Kundalini are really three lineages of yoga that offer the medicine of balance. The stillness of yin, the replenishment of restorative, and the vitality of Kundalini, they really create this kind of complementary and complete alchemy for the shifting energy that we're experiencing right now. Yin yoga is really the art of pausing. It's the practice of listening beneath motion. You hold poses for an extended period of time, and what this does is it invites the body's connective tissue to soften, making space for your life force to move more freely through your energy body. In the fall, yin really soothes Vata's turbulence and it really nurtures deep receptivity. The practice cultivates patience and humility and an inner spaciousness that allows emotion to move and settle. Poses like butterfly and reclined butterfly, a seated forward fold, reclined twists, and caterpillar are all beautiful yin postures that you could do right in your bed. A suggested mantra to use is I exhale, I release. Restorative yoga is probably the least practiced yoga and probably the least or most needed yoga out there. And restorative is simply just the practice of radical rest. It's the sacred art of literally doing nothing to become more present. Through supported postures and extended amounts of stillness, the body is able to transition from urgency of doing to the ease of being. When practiced regularly, restorative replenishes your ojas, your vital life force. This is kind of the subtle essence of your immunity and vitality. And it also restores the body's rhythm to a slower pulse of the earth. Supported child's pose, legs up the wall, reclined butterfly, like hella supported, are amazing. You can have weighted blankets, eye pillows, it could be candlelit, and you can have the visualization that we used in the beginning of this practice of roots descending down from the base of the spine into the fertile earth beneath you. And Kundalini is really this practice of yoga that's a practice of consciousness. It's the blending of movement, breath, sound, and stillness that awakens dormant energy within you. And I think Tantra and Kundalini are probably the two most misunderstood modalities of yoga. And oftentimes, people, if they know anything about what Kundalini is, They think that it's pretty aggressive and hardcore, of which, yes, it absolutely can be, but it also has this really beautiful soft side. We're awakening Kundalini Shakti, we're awakening the goddess. And so we're awakening, yes, this fierceness, but in the same hand, we're awakening this beautiful softness. And so Kundalini does have this warmth and coherence and this inner illumination to keep you warm and grounded in these cooler months. And while yin and restorative kind of serve as an anchor and soften, Kundalini is what stirs the inner flame, your Agni, and that's what circulates your prana, your life force, your energy with purpose. The practice of Kundalini is both invigorating and centering. And it's a beautiful practice to balance Vata's airy expansion. And there's a practice called breath of fire that can be aggressive, but it doesn't have to be. It can actually be really slow and rhythmic and soft and light. And it'll look like this. This will be a softer approach to breath of fire. It's a snapping of your navel of your solar plexus. So we're activating there the lower three chakra centers. We're activating our Agni, our internal flame. And it is a practice that does generate heat in the body. And so a softer, kind of lighter variation of breath of fire would look and sound like this. So a more traditional breath of fire is a little bit faster, a little bit quicker, and a little bit more intense. It would sound more like this. So when we do a softer, more gentle approach, it's just slower and lighter, but there's still a depth, there's still a moment of alchemization within the body. It's just a little softer and slower. Sat Kriya is a beautiful Kriya that activates the solar plexus and it helps to strengthen the root and the navel centers. And so, what Sat Kriya is you would traditionally do it in rock pose. You're sitting on your knees and your booty is kind of sitting on your heels. Your arms would be up overhead and your hands would be together to touch, and your arms are up overhead. And you would chant Sut Nam, Sut Nam, Sut Nam. And you would do that for anywhere from probably like one up to you could do it for 30 plus minutes. And this is a Kriya that helps to strengthen the root and the navel centers. I have a video of the Sat Kriya on my YouTube page that you can practice if you are intrigued. The Kirtan Kriya is probably the most studied meditation in all of yoga. A lot of Western colleges, universities have studied this Kirtan Kriya, and it's a Kriya that is used in memory function and a Kriya that is used to help slow down the disintegration of the mind and body of those that are affected with dementia or Alzheimer's. And so it's a really powerful practice, and it's a practice that is usually about 12 minutes long, sometimes longer. And it's a movement and sound mantra with your fingers. You would do sa, pointer finger, thumb, ta, your middle finger and thumb, na, ring finger and thumb, ma, pinky finger and thumb. Sa, ta, na, ma. Sa, ta, na, ma. You would say it out loud for anywhere from 2 to 4-ish minutes. You would whisper it for the same amount of time. You would internally chant it for double the amount of time, and then you would whisper it and then say it out loud again. There are a ton of guided kirtan kriyas on YouTube. There's a ton of songs on every streaming platform, and I also have two variations of it on my YouTube channel as well. Long, slow, deep breathing is always one of the best grounding practices that you could ever do. Having a fire ritual where you write something down that you're ready to let go of, and if you can, like literally burn it into a bonfire or a fire in your home. If you can't burn it safely, you can rip it up and bury it into the soil. Morning gratitude walks, golden milk, as I mentioned, and you can turn it into this like beautiful meditation by sipping it slowly and letting the warmth settle throughout your whole body. And there's this beautiful practice called Trataka, and it means candle gazing. So you would get one of your favorite fall candles and just gently and softly gaze into the flame and watch it just flicker and dance for 2 minutes, however long you'd like. And this helps to quiet the mind and rekindle the inner light. I luckily have a fireplace at my house. It's like an electric one. And so it's not a real fire, but it looks very realistic. And I'll find myself early in the morning or late at night. If I can't sleep for whatever reason, my mind won't shut off. I'll go and sit in front of the fire and just watch the flames, and it's incredibly soothing and relaxing. I'll send your way some recommended reading and resources if this has sparked some interest in you. I'll send over some recommended readings that you can add to your upcoming holiday wish list if you'd like. And may this season remind you of the sacred rhythm of rest. May you find stillness without stagnation, warmth without haste, and movement born of deep listening. May you remember that grounding is not heaviness, but belonging, a return to the fertile ground of your own being. You are the earth remembering herself.